In the NFL draft, there's always steals, but there's always reaches, and that's what we're going over today. My top 10 reaches in the 2021 NFL draft class. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So the parameters to this video are very simple. I'm going to take where these guys were on my big board and compare it to where they ended up getting drafted. That difference, that's what gets you in the top 10, because you're going to be looking for a guy like Alex Leatherwood, and while, yes, I would consider him a reach, he was really only overdrafted by 44 spots. All these guys on the list are 100 and more. Again, those are the parameters of the video. If you want to check out what I thought about the draft class as a whole, I got a video on that as well. I'll leave those in like the iCard for y'all. But let's go ahead. Let's get in. We're going to start with Granson, SMU's own tight end. More of a jumbo receiver, really. He's a guy that he mainly lined up in the slot. He ended up getting drafted at 127. I had him at 235 in my opinion. A very big reach for a guy that really, again, I think he's maybe just a big slot receiver. I don't think he's a guy you can put in line, but he makes this list at being overdrafted by 108 spots. And as a whole, the Colts draft for me was kind of, yeah. But I will admit, man, this guy, he does have some legit receiving skills. It's just as a whole, as a tight end, I don't know. And then you look at a guy like Kenny Yeboah, he ends up not going drafted, and I think he provides a better skill set. It just kind of makes you wonder. And then Tutu Atwell making the list. You had to know he would be on this list. After he tested out as initially 155, goes to the medical combine, ends up being like 149 at 5'9". I don't see how a guy like that succeeds. You're really betting on the exception at that point rather than the standard. And I had no problem taking a shot on him maybe day 3. But he ends up going in the second round to the Rams, a place where I think, yes, they'll utilize him well, but they're drafting a gadget player at best in the second round at this point. He's not going to see the field a lot with guys like Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson, Robert Woods. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It was an interesting pick nonetheless. Now is the part of the video where I like to tell you to become a bro and subscribe. Leave that thumbs up if you enjoy the content, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Indulge in that nice, sweet, sensual football discourse we have in the comment section. And back to the video. But let's keep this train rolling with Malcolm Koontz, the edge out of Buffalo. I was just surprised he went as early as he did. I mean, I saw he was getting a lot of day 2 hype, but I wasn't buying into that, man, because yes, he was pretty dominant in the MAC for the last 2 years, but he's an older prospect. He doesn't offer much as a run defender, and his upside's not that extraordinary in my opinion. But the Raiders being the Raiders, they went ahead, they drafted him while I thought there were many, many, many better edge talents on the board, at least with younger, with bigger upside. They went ahead, they grabbed Koontz here, 123 spots higher than I had him on my board. Just wild. And there's a lot of guys that I actually really like on, like Tutu Atwell I liked as a prospect. It's just I didn't like, he's really just a high-end gadget player. And this next guy is kind of the epitome of a guy I like that just got drafted way higher than I would have taken him. And that's Aubrey Thomas. I know a lot of people love Aubrey Thomas. They saw him as that potential like fringe day 2 guy. Not me, man. I always made the comparison for him and Lavert Hill. They both played on the same team in 2019. Thomas obviously opted out of the 2022 or the 2020 season. But Lavert Hill was easily the best corner on that team in 2019. Ends up going, I think, in the 7th round, maybe undrafted. I think it was the 7th to the Chiefs. And I know Hill didn't offer a better size, but he was way more competitive. He was constantly guarding the other team's number 1 Well, Thomas, he was guarding the number 2, man. He looked, I would say Hill looked way better in that Alabama bowl game in 2019 than Thomas did. I thought Thomas really needed to play this year. Again, the Big Ten, they didn't really get a lot of opportunities to play. I think Michigan played, 5 or 6 games. But I get why people liked Thomas, and this is why I like Thomas too, man. He's a press man corner coming into the league. While, yes, man, doesn't necessarily have to be his only coverage, but he has those press skills that you really like to see. But again, based on his play, based on where Lavert Hill got, because I had Lavert Hill as like a 5th rounder, so I was like, I don't want to put Thomas really that high either. While if I consider him in this case, a worse prospect, so I had him in that 6th, 7th round area, late day 2. He ends up going late day, I said late day 3, but he ends up going late day 2, so it just kind of surprised me. And then you had to know, Patrick Jones was going to be on this list, man. I just don't get, for me, it was hard to justify drafting Patrick Jones. You may say, oh, he's got the ideal build, but then the length, he's got short arms. And he just never, for me, he never wowed as a pass rusher. I think 2019 was the only time where he had a plus pressure and win rate for edge. If you go back to 2018, 2020, that was not a part of his game. He was this high sack guy that was the late to the party, gets all the attention. He was reaping the reward of guys, or reaping the hard work of guys like Rashad Weaver, who was actually getting all that pressure and all that disruption. And you go to Jones, you go to the Senior Bowl. He had one of the worst win rates, 11% at the Senior Bowl. That whole week, he looked like one of the worst edge players. I just couldn't get why a team would justify drafting a guy that might, at best, be an average rotation player in the 3rd round. Yet the Vikings did, but they made actually a lot of other good picks. Wyatt Davis was on my steals video. So, I guess they can't all be winners. Next, I got Ian Book, man. Ian Book had to make the list, man. I couldn't believe he was drafted. I couldn't believe he was drafted so high. I kind of figured maybe he'd be in the 6th, 7th round, but I wasn't ever really that high on Ian Book. To me, he was borderline undraftable just because he's kind of got a noodle for an arm, and he doesn't take those shots downfield willingly. But when he does, he actually puts some nice touch on the ball. But you can tell if he were to take more shots downfield, it won't be pretty. It won't be beautiful. It'd be downright ugly. Yet the Saints, in the 4th round, take a shot on Ian Book. In my opinion, this may have been the worst value of the draft. Well, among the worst values of the draft. Well, that's why it makes this list. But it's really because those first 4, those picks in the first 4 rounds, those are guys that almost could help immediately or somewhere in the next 2 to 3 years. I don't see Ian Book maybe making the roster. That's my opinion. I know there's some Ian Book truthers out there. Hey, man. Believe what you believe. Proof's in the pudding, I guess. I might just not like pudding. But yeah, not a fan of that one. Then I got Isaiah Loudermilk, man. I was surprised he was drafted at all. I had him at 315 on my board. And the Steelers, man, they went in on him. He's just a guy. And that was the thing with this defensive interior class. There were probably a handful of guys that were these guys, legit. But then, you got to that 4th, 5th round, and the talent necessarily wasn't that good. And then keep in mind, this guy got drafted over Marvin Wilson. I don't know how that happened. So, Loudermilk might be a contributor, but that might be his ceiling right there. A guy that rotates in at best. I was just kind of shocked to see him come off the board at 156. If this was a late day 2 pick or late day 3 pick, I wanna it wouldn't have caught my attention. It would have been like, okay, it's a guy they liked. Well, but they went a little bit earlier on him than I would have expected. And then I got Nashon Rightman, man. This probably was one of the biggest surprise picks in day 2. This guy was like fringe 7th round at best, just because I get it. You like his size. He's got a unique build for a corner, but like he doesn't have great play, and it's a very small sample size at that. But I think the bigger thing was just his athletic testing sucked. Like he tested with some of the worst agility like drills. He was in the 9th or 8th percentile, like near bottom. When it came to like the 3-cone, the shuttle, like you got a guy with size and length, but that's it. He can't move. Like I don't really know what they saw in him. He was easily probably the biggest reach on day 2. Shocked everybody. The Cowboys had a couple of guys like that were reaches, like Chauncey Golston with Cam Sample, who was the better version of, if you're looking for a guy like Chauncey Golston, like that was a bit shocking. But yeah, the right one definitely takes the cake here. And then Dez Fitzpatrick, man. I know there's some guys that are big fans of Dez Fitzpatrick out there. I get it. A guy of his size, you know, you're like, yeah, man. And he was the Senior Bowl MVP, right? I don't get it, man. I don't get it. He has a very limited route tree. I think he's very clunky as a route runner. So we're talking about a guy that's clunky with only a handful of routes he can actually run. Like, in a receiving class that I thought had, oh, man, like if I were going to take a shot here, if I were the Titans, I would have gone with like a Tamari and Terry, who you've seen the big play potential, which Fitzpatrick has some of that on his tape, just not nearly as much as a guy like Tamari and Terry, you know? And I don't know, man. I'm not a big buyer in Fitzpatrick, dude. I didn't even think he looked good during Senior Bowl like practices, which shocked me when he got the MVP, but I think that was more so the game though. But he didn't even have a high win rate when it came to drills. And I mean, that Senior Bowl, those drills are designed for receivers to win. So yeah, it was definitely shocking to see him come off the board so early in day 2 or day 3, excuse me. So yeah, but he's not my biggest draft reach. I have one more, and it is in fact Dan Moore going to the Steelers. I'm just going to say I didn't really like a lot of the Texas A&M offensive line prospects. Obviously, when it comes to Kerryon Green, who's going to be in the 2022 class, he's a bit of the exception when it comes to that line. I like him a lot. Dan Moore, not so much, man. He literally does nothing that wows me. It's like that says this guy maybe can stick to a practice squad at best. Yet the Steelers, when I thought there was probably some better talent obviously there was better talent on the board at the tackle position, they go Dan Moore. I don't know. Maybe Moore's a guy that could honestly probably move into guard. That might be his spot or role in the NFL. But yeah, it was just a huge reach in my opinion, and he is my top reach of the 2021 NFL draft class. But let me know your reaches in the comment section below. And of course, that's it for the video. Go ahead, do that YouTube thing. And until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.